Hey everyone, I'm Princess Link, and welcome back to Metal Gear Solid 4. I just realized, first of all, somebody on Tumblr pointed out that the paragraph breaks are actually little snakes. Look at that, it's so cute. It's so cute. Anyway, where was I? Chapter 3? Yes. Chapter 3. High above steel frames intertwined in intricate arches, recalling a great Buddhist temple. That sentence makes no sense. High above what? Or perhaps a cathedral for the Cold War, I thought. The Vex itself might have been, as Liquid had said, the demon weapon that ushered in the 21st century. The ideas and thoughts that birthed it belonged decidedly to the previous era. A ghost of the Cold War, the architecture of Vex's maintenance bear a testament to its nature. Atop the platform as large as a sandlot baseball field, Vex had once stood. When we were still working on the robot, catwalks extended from all sides of the sanctuary, surrounding it like a building under construction. But now that space lay vacant, and the catwalks littered the floor where they had fallen 9 years ago, when Liquid raised the platform to take Vex to the floor above. The above-ground entrance room to the supply tunnel became the graveyard for my largest creation. To my astonishment, Snake had soundly destroyed that monster, though he benefited from my advice and Frank Yeager's self-sacrifice. The victory could still only have come at the hands of the legendary hero. "Hop on, Snake," I said. "I'll send her up." Snake lifted the Mark III and set it on top of Vex's platform. The Metal Gear's remains awaited at the lift's destination, the supply tunnel entrance. I opened the cover to the floor access panel and inserted the Mark III's manipulator into the jack. With a heavy shudder, the massive lift awoke from hibernation. Alarms reverberated through the chamber. "If everything's been left the same," I said, "Vex will be here." Snake watched the upper floor draw closer. Excuse me. The weapon Snake destroyed. The weapon that stole the life of his mentor and friend, Frank Yeager. The weapon I created, and my sin. After another large shudder, the alarms quieted. We had arrived. The platform fit neatly into the floor. "Vex," I whispered. The supply tunnel entrance was a dim space, roughly the size and shape of a gymnasium. Vex's corpse leaned against a wall, unmoved since Snake had destroyed the machine. The robot's head was askew, like a confused puppy dog, unsure of what had just happened. Despite a massive frame, the Metal Gear looked small now. As we got closer, I realized why Vex seemed to have become so diminutive. "Look," I said, "the railgun's been removed." I clicked my tongue. Had Liquid already left with the railgun? He didn't need the whole Vex to launch his nuke, only the naked cannon, free of the system's control. Snake said. "Have they already taken off with it?" I said, "I'll check," and sent the Mark III around the back of Vex's giant legs to the maintenance port that would provide access to Vex's work logs. Perhaps the railgun had been taken much earlier. The Patriots could have recovered it after the incident. But given the abandoned state of the rest of the facility, I didn't have high hopes. The voice came from above. "I'm afraid so." Snake looked up to the second floor walkway to see Vam standing there. "Unfortunately for you," Vam said, "the railgun is no longer here." In defiance of the cold, the Nosferatu discarded his jacket, exposing his bare chest. But more shocking was the hollowness in Naomi's eyes. She stood behind him wearing a dark brown coat. Then I noticed something about her mouth and his that gave me chills. Both were missing something in the below freezing air, the white clouds of exhaled breath. At the sight of her, Snake just said, "Naomi." I know this might sound fanciful, but after seeing Vamp killed so many times and yet remaining alive, the bloodsucker's lack of white breath seemed only natural. Snake and I had come to expect his body to operate in ways beyond all reason. But Naomi, there at his side like a vampire bride, deeply unsettled us. She and Vamp didn't seem much different at all. "This place will be your grave," Vamp said, adding, "as Naomi wishes." The confidence in his smile was unnerving. If Vamp and Naomi had already sent out the railgun, why were they still here? I routed queries to the security system via Vex's access port. And found readings of a large number of entities headed toward the supply tunnel entrance at great speed. I warned Snake and Vamp flashed us a satisfied grin. "The suicide geckos are on their way," he said. "We've rigged their heads with explosives. Soon there will be nothing left of this place." "We've been had," Snake said. "Otacon!" Snake needed help. I initiated a scan of Vex's drive system. I ran the self-diagnostics and got a full report of damage to each of the robot's components. I didn't have time to look at every detail, but drawing on old sense memories of testing the Metal Gear, I managed a rough diagnosis of Vex's state. "Snake," I said, "I think I might be able to get it working." I disconnected the Mark III's manipulator, switched its wheels to magnetic mode, and climbed Vex's leg. If I could get into the cockpit on the front of the Metal Gear's nose, I could put the robot's knee-fired anti-tank missiles to use. "Now," Vamp said, "amuse me until they arrive." He leapt down from the second floor and struck a 4-point landing. What is that? He held in a crouch and stared at Snake, licking his lips. Vamp cursed, raised his M4 and began to fire. Vamp evaded the gunfire with astonishing agility. Some of the Nosferatu's speed might have been from the U.S. Army power assist armor he wore over his legs, but the movement of his back and legs easily surpassed mortal limits, mechanical aid or not. Snake needed to get close. He and I had come up with a plan on Nomad to handle the Deathless Man. If my conjecture were correct, Vamp's immortality could be stripped away. Snake could only succeed if Vamp remained unaware. My idea wasn't a sure thing, far from it. But Snake understood that the fight's outcome hinged upon a single moment. He fired the M4, shrewdly orchestrating the opening we needed. The next crucial step came. Vamp wielded a knife. The bloodsucker sent out a volley of throwing daggers. Snake twisted to the side, evading them by inches, save for the one aimed at his head, which grazed the burn wound on his face. The shallow cut into Snake's scarred skin let out a trickle of blood. Seeing the line of red across Snake's cheek, Vamp licked his lips, perhaps anticipating the taste. Oh my god, why? Why is Vamp like that? Vamp pressed in on Snake. Our plan required luring the immortal in, yet the closer he got to Snake, the greater the danger. Our sole chance of defeating the Nosferatu would come at the moment of greatest risk. When the M4's magazine ran out of bullets, Snake didn't reload. Instead, he dropped the rifle to rest on his sling, brought out his knife, and took the CQC stance. Vamp accepted the invitation and closed the distance. The moment we'd been waiting for had finally arrived. Snake's knife was only a front. Hidden in his other hand, the auto-injector was Snake's holy sword and holy water. Perhaps even the stake to drive into the vampire's eye. The snake stuck the needle into Vamp's exposed neck. Compressed air pushed the piston down, and the swarm of nanomachine inhibitors rushed into Vamp's bloodstream. Taken by surprise, the bloodsucker leapt back. He put his hand to his neck and, with agony in his expression, dropped to one knee and said, "What have you done?" "There," Snake said. "Now you're a dead man, too." He He displayed the auto-injector to Vamp before putting it back in his pouch. Vamp didn't seem to yet know what was about to occur within him, only that something was changing inside his body. Something long asleep was awakening. Could this be life? As the frozen life began to stir, Vamp looked afraid. I took Vamp's moment of confusion to slip the Mark III inside Vex's cockpit. When I connected the robot's manipulator arm to a data port on the side of the control stick, this could work. The moment I initiated Vex's boot up, the south wall crumbled like cardboard, and a gecko lumbered like an elephant into view. The machine had crashed through the composite partitioning wall. "Snake!" I said. "Look out! They rigged to self-destruct!" Snake looked from the gecko back to Vamp. Though Vamp had been momentarily discomposed when the nanomachines thawed his frozen life, now he slowly arose, ready to fight. He put his hands behind his back, then, after only an instant, they reappeared wielding knives. Not even Snake could hope to stand against both Vamp and the gecko. He was trapped. The muscles of his half-burned face tensed. The gecko lifted one sausage-like bird leg and stepped over the rebel and into the room. Then the robot's head and legs split apart. The cut was that of a master swordsman slashing through a bundle of straw. The gecko's head, packed with explosives, slid lopsided down its back. The robot, its sensors disconnected, inoperative, could no longer determine when it should explode. A figure alighted on Rex's back. His right hand grasped the sword that had split the gecko in two. "Raiden." "Snake," he said. "Sorry to have kept you waiting." Raiden flourished his large sword as if it were a baton, then slid the blade into his sheath. No trace of confusion remained in Vamp's expression, only rapture. If it isn't the man I've been waiting for. You ready for this?" Snake asked with worry in his voice. "Yeah," Raiden said. "Sonny gave me the go-ahead." With a freakish cry, Vamp jumped to Rex's knee. Then he was atop the steel giant with Raiden. He presented Raiden a heartfelt gun and said, "How about it, undying man? You want to die too?" "Sorry," Raiden said, his eyes locked on the vampires, "but I can't die just yet." "Then, kill me." Vamp threw throwing knives from the holders at his forearm and thigh and displayed them. Drew throwing knives from their holders at his forearm and thigh and displayed them, fanning them out between his fingers like a magician's deck of cards. Raiden grasped his sword sheath. "Wait," the Nosferatu said. "They say you consider yourself some Native American scout. Knives, then? Let us duel with knives." Raiden released the hilt of his sword, and keeping his eyes on Vamp, withdrew his Yoroi Doshi, a thick, straight-edged dagger. He held the weapon in a reverse grip and pointed the blade's tip at Vamp. "Snake," he said, "this one is mine. You keep those gecko at bay." From behind the gecko destroyed by Raiden came reinforcements. Snake readied the sniper rifle he'd purchased from Drebin in South America, pulling back the bolt and sending the first round into the breach. If he could hit the gecko in their comparatively weak armored heads and sensory equipment, he might be able to stop them. "Otacon," Snake said. "We're gonna buy you some time." I went back to work. I needed to get Rex's systems back online to stop the oncoming gecko. "Kill me," Vamp said. "Kill me!" With a scream, Vamp unleashed a volley of knives from both hands. Raiden, unable to dodge or deflect, took the weapons into his body, the knives sinking into his sides, his shoulders, and his arms. Raiden used his free hand to swiftly pluck out the daggers, retaining them at Vamp with machine gun speed. The bloodsucker dodged them with his characteristic ballet grace and unsheathed his finest and largest knife from its sheath on his thigh. What about the crotch knife? He smoothly transitioned forward, and Raiden, reading the Nosferatu's movements, rushed in to meet him. Their blades crossed. The sharp clang of metal on metal resounded through the space, the music reaching even Snake's ears below. Suddenly, the concert cut short. Raiden and Vamp separated and stared each other down, ready to make the next clash the decisive one. Now, the two flung themselves forward as if propelled by magnetic force. Directly between them, their swords flashed one final time, and in each man's chest a blade sank deep into flesh. White blood dripped from Raiden's wound, dark red from Vamp. For a few seconds, neither moved. Vamp's lips formed a taut grin, no longer the hopeless smile, as if of an immortal that might suggest, "Not even this will kill me." No, Vamp felt pain now. He felt life pouring out of him. The smile was from surprise and from happiness. The two men separated, and Vamp breathlessly pulled the Yoroi Doshi out of his chest. "This thing sprouting from my chest. This is my life." As Vamp fell from Rex and down to the floor, his thoughts fanned to the life force flowing from his wound. "Where have you been hiding? If you've been here all along, why have you denied me death and decay? Don't you know how much suffering you've inflicted upon me?" I shouted. "Snake, get down!" Snake dove away from the partitioning wall the gecko continued to smash through. The next instant, missiles I fired from Rex slammed into the top of the wall. The concussive blast and debris rushed past Snake. He lifted his head to see the destruction, the mountain of rubble blocking any surviving gecko from getting inside the supply tunnel entrance. Surprised myself, I said, "This thing might come in handy after all." Snake had thought Rex utterly destroyed, and sure enough, the radar dome and cockpit interior had been largely done in. But when the Mark III ran a system check, I found the joints and support systems at nearly full strength. Even the cockpit's manual controls appeared to be operable, provided I could reassign the control systems among any remaining functional input devices. To give Snake room to fit inside the cockpit, I steered the Mark III back down to the floor and found Naomi standing there, solemnly looking down on Vamp as he contorted in pain. Snake put away the sniper rifle and went to her side. Through the Mark III's camera, I stared into the face of the monster who took my sister's life. But the face was no longer that of a monster, but of a human, fragile. No longer a Nosferatu, no longer a monster, now a man once more. A mere man, as he had been born. I had reviled him as a monster, but this ordinary man left me bewildered. "Vamp was never immortal," Naomi said. "His natural healing abilities were enhanced by the nanomachines inside his body. But after so many battles, he's finally reached his limit." She didn't have to tell us. We had already realized this when, inside the helicopter, escaping from South America, she confessed her sins, saying, "I'm responsible for Vamp." That was when Snake and I knew. Vamp's immortality was not innate, but rather granted by Naomi's nanomachines. If we could only inhibit them, we could restore the inevitability of death. Raiden descended from Rex and joined Naomi, looking at the man he defeated. After Snake had made Vamp human again, he was vulnerable to Raiden. Returned to his natural flesh and blood, Vamp would die now. In turn, Raiden's victory evidenced that he was no longer human. Perhaps Vamp had been transformed into a monster by technology. But Raiden was the same. Raiden was now a monster, as was Snake. But as with Vamp, had been the baby of a man and woman like any other, and Vamp at the end had been able to regain his humanity. It shouldn't be too late for Raiden, I thought. It mustn't be, because Snake, born as a monster, wouldn't be granted the same good fortune. Raiden said to Naomi, "Sunny asked me to tell you something." White blood still flowed from where Vamp's knives had cut him. "What?" Naomi asked. "I cooked them right. That was it." "I see." Naomi closed her eyes. Tears silently streamed down her cheeks as she seemed to reach an understanding. Whatever was going through her mind, I sensed there was more going on than satisfaction at teaching Sunny how to make fried eggs correctly. I could sense her emotions of fulfillment and relief, and they unsettled me. "Good for you, Sunny," she said. "You finally did it." At At her feet, Vamp let out a painful moan. Naomi went to her knees and stroked his forehead with the scarred over bullet wound. "Doctor," he said with fear, "ease my pain." Faced at last by the real death he had so desired, Vamp now battled a terror that was hard to contain. A pitiable sight. All too natural a response for any man. I had been possessed by the notion that by defeating this monster, by killing this inhuman thing, I would be freed from my hate. But the figure on the ground before me was just a man, tragic in his normality, now nothing more than an inhabitant of a body on its way to death. I wanted to scream, "Why? Why do you have to be like that now? Why do you have to be a human again? I reviled you as a monster, and I wanted to kill you as a monster. Why is your face so human with fear?" Naomi took out an auto-injector and said to Vamp, "You must have been so lonely." Vamp reached for the syringe, his hand trembling, pleading for the promised land sealed within the cylinder. But Naomi's hand also trembled. "I can't," she said. "I haven't earned the right to save you." His eyes yearned for help, but Naomi felt too much guilt to provide it. "I stole his life," she thought. "I robbed him of death. I destroyed him with a peace which no living being should be denied. Can I grant him salvation? Who do I think I am? That's supposed to absolve me of my sins." Naomi would not allow her hands to provide his mercy. Instead, she came to the Mark III and said, "You have to trust me, Dr. Emmerich." She put the auto-injector up to the robot's camera. I didn't know how to react. "Give this to him," Naomi said. Not for revenge, but to put an end to his suffering." For a time I stared at the syringe, unable to move. This man killed Emma. This monster took her from me. Now I doubted anything could rescue Vamp from his anguish. All that remained was a lonely sinner burning in the blazing flames that lay in the space between life and death. Still in a daze, Snake Eater. No, that's a dream. Ugh. I'm still in a dream, Snake Eater. Anyway, I operated the Mark III's controls. The next thing I knew, the robot held the auto-injector within its manipulator arm. The misery that had been propelling me was gone now. Without it, I no longer knew what to do, bereft of my anger, of malice and the desire for vengeance. Where had they gone? The anger and the hate. While I struggled with my confusion, Vamp snatched the auto-injector from the Mark III and jabbed it into the side of his neck. Vamp began to writhe in agony. The life and death, long sealed away, now raged within his body. He was at the opening of a new life, and with life came the possibility of death. "Now you can return to your true self," Naomi said. "You can be at peace." "I can die?" Though his body contorted with pain, Vamp exhaled in relief. "Forgive me," Naomi said. The nanomachines washed through him and restored old wounds to their rightful places. "Here," he seemed to think. "Here is the place I've longed for, dark and painful and warm." Vamp's breath became visible in the cold, his life force taking root in soil lungs, but long left fallow. Pain filled his existence, the sweet, precious pain of being alive. I don't have to be anymore. I don't have to suffer in the gap between life and death, refused from either. In his last moments, his muscles seized tight and his back arched. Then Vamp found what he'd been seeking. Gently, Naomi closed his eyelids, covering the eyes that no longer held fear or joy. For a time, I gazed at the Mark III's monitor feed, unable to find the words I should say. I remained empty, a discarded shell. Vamp was dead, and nothing had changed. "Why?" I whispered. But I didn't have to ask. Everything was clear now. This wouldn't bring Emma back. This wouldn't redress all the things I should have done for Emma but wasn't able to. Vamp's death didn't mean anything. The revelation had left me astonished. I should have realized this from the beginning, so why had I never been able to accept it? Emma couldn't forgive anyone, not anymore. Vengeance. I had been looking outside myself, while my true enemy had always been within. "We can't erase the past," Naomi said. "Nor can we forget it. And so, the only thing we can do is end it." I don't know if she spoke to me or to herself. Either was the same. If only I had understood sooner. Emma, I'm sorry. Why am I always so foolish? Retrieving the auto-injector that had delivered Vamp's death, Naomi stood and faced Snake. Just as I could never receive Emma's forgiveness, no matter what I had done or might do, neither would Naomi ever find atonement. But she still carried unresolved sins, and her journey was not yet at an end. Snake, she said, Liquid's down below us. He's stolen the Patriot system, slipped out of their grasp, and taken their Ark. Their Ark? Snake asked. A warship unfettered by land, law, country, or computer network. The only place where they are truly released from the shackles of the Patriots. Let the shackles be released. I'm spitting. Oh my god, that's gross. Stop being gross. The place where they can be free. Outer heaven. From where Liquid plans to launch the nuke. Haven. Drebin had mentioned the word back in South America. Tax havens, data havens. Places outside the system, safe from supervision and control. Snake, she said solemnly. Your life has been prolonged so that you may fulfill your purpose. With this accelerated aging, a brief stay granted to him to complete his mission. Without it, would he already be dead? Perhaps 9 years earlier, on this island stricken down by Foxdie. Naomi continued, when all of this is over, you'll have no choice but to accept death. We are given life only so that we can atone for our sins. Your life was created for that very purpose. Gently, she touched her hand to Snake's cheek and said, we ourselves must atone for our sins. We must not pass them on to the next generation. We must not leave them for the future. Tears falling from her eyes, Naomi looked like Mary Magdalene at Golgotha, witnessing the agony of the man crucified for all the sins of the world. Oh my god. Dude, who even is that? Dude. I don't even know who Mary Magdalene is, and I was raised Catholic. Wait, is she the one who, like, wiped off Jesus' face and then the towel had, like, an imprint of his face? Or is that someone else? I don't remember. That is your true fate, she said. One that cannot be defied. Hi. She put the auto-injector into her neck. With her thumb, she pressed the button, sending nanomachine inhibitors into her blood, just as they had been sent into Vamp's. Naomi? I said. I sensed something was wrong. From her peculiar calmness when she reported Sunny's words to her handling of Vamp's passing, Naomi seemed to be settling her unfinished business in one piece at a time. I turned Mike 3's camera to her and caught a fleeting, contrite smile. Snake, she said. Vamp and I are the same. Living corpses, bodies kept barely alive by nanomachines. Then you, cancer. I shouldn't even be alive right now. What? I yelled. I remembered shivering at the touch of her lips inside the helicopter, wondering, why is she so cold? Why is her skin so lacking in warmth? But when I had joined my body with hers, I fled into the reassurance of feeling loved by someone, and I pushed any such doubts aside. That's Fiola's jumping noise. This is an word. Like I was playing Xenoblade X earlier. Not even a single one was not gonna hold different players and no piece of gas guys from so long words. I stay quick with the guns cans, staying as long as we can until we get all dollars up, thank God that's all for the attack, dealing with last master. Ass caves. Oh, my beloved. The nanomachines kept my cancer from progressing, she explained, but there's nothing more they can do. With the nanomachines gone, my time will unfreeze and begin to flow again. Her breath had become visible in the frigid air. Just like Vamp, life blighted her body, The nanomachines that had once sealed away the realities of life and turned aside Death's gaze were now swiftly stripped from her lungs, her organs, and her arms and legs. "Goodbye, Hal," Naomi said, hugging herself, as the frozen air of Shadow Moses wrapped what little warmth remained from a body that should already be dead. She held herself as if cherishing the cold. "Thanks, I hate it. She smiled at the mic 3 and said, "Give my best to Sunny." Far removed from Shadow Moses, I was helpless. I couldn't hold her steady, and I couldn't put my arms around her. Why would you want to, dude? "Naomi," I yelled at the computer screen. "Don't do it." I cried and I screamed, unreservedly. It was all I could do. Vexed by feelings of powerlessness, I could only observe through the Mic 3's video feed. Why? Why did you betray us to die so selfishly? Ignoring my tearful cries, Naomi gave herself another nanomachine injection. She slumped to the floor like a marionette whose strings had been cut. At last, her body had regained its natural state, inflicted by a cancer, spread from lungs to liver to lymph nodes to everywhere else, a cancer that should have long since killed its host. I brought the Mic 3 to Naomi's side. With effort, she lifted her head and touched her fingers to the robot's flip-out screen, tracing my face on the mini LCD. "You have such beautiful eyes," she breathed. "Why? Thanks, I hate it." I choked up. Through the Mic 3's came as our eyes met. "Forgive me," she said, "and forget me." Deep down, I refused to accept it. I can't. It had been the same with Emma and with Wolf. Not once had I been able to save anyone I loved. Not when Snake and Wolf battled on that snowfield. Not when Emma was stabbed on the big shell. What about when, Snake was, I'm sorry. It's not funny, but also... What was I fighting for when I couldn't protect a single person? No, this can't be happening! What am I fighting for? I'm sorry. Okay. Then, as if in disregard for my despair, a wall I thought I'd blocked off with Vex's missiles burst open. Raiden turned to see a leg protruding lazily from the rubble, large and still like an elephant's. A gecko had self-destructed to reopen an entrance. "No, go!" Naomi said, pushing away the Mic 3 with the last of her strength. For a moment, I thought the robot might tip over. But somehow I maintained balance. I tried to send it dashing back to Naomi, but Raiden had seized the tiny machine. I moved the Mic 3 wildly, but its legs only flailed at the air. Keeping his eyes on the advancing gecko squad, Raiden warned, "Snake, we need to hurry." The leg of the exploded gecko was tossed into the air like a chicken bone. One of its comrades had kicked its remains aside to clear a path into the space. Why does it always end this way? I stared at Naomi's motionless body, frozen by feelings of powerlessness. Just when I thought I was ready to fall in love. You say that like, you went in love with Snake. You can't lie to me, Hal. Everybody knows you're in love with Snake, okay? You can't lie to me. Just when I thought I could protect her. "They're coming!" Raiden shouted. Snake took the Mic 3 from him and sprinted toward Rex. I could only watch Naomi pass into the distance. The three of us reached the metal gear and clambered into the cockpit. I held Snake's side up Vex, while sadness and the magnitude of all I had lost crushed down on me relentlessly. You knew her for like 2 hours, okay? pathetic. And it's like, you've known her for like 2 hours, dude. You've literally only known her for like 2 hours. And also, she literally tried to murder Snake. Like, what happened to Bros Before Hoes, Hal? Huh? I understood that the instant I allowed my concentration to falter, I would break down into despair. Certainly, I knew what I had to do. I had already lost 2 people close to me. If I hadn't grown accustomed to loss, I at least had learned how to endure. Wait. I could calm my emotions, to a certain extent at least, simply by closing my eyes and steadying my breath. Emotions follow the flesh. The minds and bodies of man possess an inherent and perhaps cruel insensitivity. I felt a fleeting yet fierce contempt for myself in not being any different. I understand, I said. I haven't lost everything yet. Yeah, you still got Snake. From Max's cockpit, I connected to the facility's network and sent a command to open the supply tunnel door. I remembered something else I had learned through all my losses. Those women were real. They were a part of this world. Emma, Wolf, and Naomi. I really don't like that Emma keeps getting put in the same category as Sniper, Wolf, and Naomi, when like she's a sister. And Sniper, Wolf, and Naomi were both love interests. Love interests, like, in the loosest possible. I mean that in the loosest possible definition of the term, or whatever. Like, Sniper Wolf is gay. Sorry, I don't make that no, like, he just had a crush on Sniper Wolf, and Naomi... Everything I gained through them, the sadness, the joy, the hate, proves that they had indeed lived, and now they continue to exist in a different form inside me. Regret didn't have to mean being imprisoned and paralyzed by loss. By holding on to those thoughts of what I hadn't been able to do for Wolf, of what I hadn't been able to provide for Emma, I could keep the woman alive inside myself. Dude, Emma wasn't a woman. She was 18, okay? She was younger than me now. Like, dude, okay. Anyway, not relevant. Like, she's not, I mean, legally, but like, not really. And as I did, my duty of regret had another purpose, to ensure I wouldn't repeat the past. Snake, I said. Wait, I've still got a job to do. Naomi still existed within me. Her life might have been gone, but my love for her remained. Snake nodded. Wait. For now, that was enough. Later, there would be time to spare for tears. I'd had 9 years of many battles to learn how to stave them off a little bit longer. Snake nodded at the Mark III. That's right. We need you. I'm done crying. My tears have dried up. Then Naomi's body disappeared within the stampede of Gecko. I had to move forward. There was no stopping here. I went back to my efforts to bring Max back to life, to keep giving meaning to everyone I lost, to preserve the meaning of their existence. If you like this, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitch. I stream sometimes, link in the description, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!